I just had an adventure with MySql and MariaDB. So there's this vendor and they sell a service which is running a particular type of web site and this website is a bunch of PHP scripts attached to a MySql database, and this service charges clients to administer the system on some cloud service provider, I think, or I'm not sure where, some web hosting platform. But this service does not provide its clients with any access to the database. There's some minimal access to the data via the PHP web forms, but there's certain data that you can't get from those web forms and there's no way to do an SQL query on the underlying tables. But the service does provide an SQL backup which does some kind of ASCII dump of all the tables in the database. It's a dump that's similar to the format that MySql dump produces. All it is a series of create table, and then insert into table, and gives literals for all the data. So it's a backup in the form of an SQL script which you should be able to run, and it will recreate the data structure. But the way the script that creates this SQL backup works is that it writes all the SQL statements on one line. It doesn't use any line feeds. So it's just statement, semicolon, statement, semicolon, all the way through. I tried to verify that by using Unix WC-L to count the number of lines, but that produced something like 8,000. Now this is a 5.2 megabyte file for this particular instance, and so I ran a sed script, and this is not the right way to do it because you actually can't do this reliably. But what I did was I just replaced every instance of semicolon create table with semicolon new line create table, and each instance of insert into semicolon insert into with semicolon new line insert into. The reason that doesn't work is that these data literals in the insert statements contain sometimes very long sections of ASCII text, which one hopes is properly quoted. So without unquoting it and actually parsing the SQL, can't reliably do this search and replace, because if the character semicolon insert into ever appear inside one of these literals, it will change the literal and it will change the data in the database. But for the purposes of these reports, that wouldn't actually matter, because unless somebody had that in an email address which we're trying to extract, or unless they had it in one of the fields that are extracted, and there are very few character fields that would have something like that in, things like name and surname, and you would kind of notice it. So, and I mean, it's ridiculous. This organization only has a few hundred members. It's a tiny amount of data. But anyway, I ran sed on it to do these replacements, and there seems to be a bug in sed. Sed is not able to handle lines of 5 megabytes, 5.2 megabyte lines. GNU said it doesn't do lots of the replaces. You can see, so you can get some of these things to work, but when you then slurp all of these SQL commands into an SQL command interpreter, you get slews, hundreds and hundreds of error messages fly off the screen, because the way the SQL in MySql or MariaDB, the way it sources an input file, it doesn't stop at the first error. It just carries on. It ignores errors and prints out the message and just carries on to the next statement. So I then realized later that I mean, it's completely unknown provenance, this backup script. I actually have the email address of one of the people who modified it, but the email address of the person who wrote it is a non-existent domain. And it would be very easy, actually, for someone, a malicious actor, to write that script in such a way that by inserting certain text into the web interface front end as a legitimate use of the web interface, you could actually do an attack on the administrator who was running the restore, who was sourcing this SQL file, because you basically do an SQL injection attack, and you can, from the MySql, you can actually create files and things unless you run it in a sandbox, which I didn't do. So I potentially compromised my whole system, because I'd been put under pressure to do this, and I didn't have time to work out how to build a virtual container so that this was done. So the worst case scenario is that the original author of this mysterious database backup script modified it to include a backdoor. But really, I've interacted with the people that run the service and the programmer who modified that script, and they don't seem to me to be the kind of people who would be able to audit something like this. They're not security oriented at all. So that was my morning. I also spent quite a lot of time trying to work out how to install, just how to run the standard Debian MariaDB packages. MariaDB, for people that are like me and don't know what it is a fork of MySql, which is maintained independently of Oracle, because Oracle bought MySql at some point, and MariaDB is an attempt to restore the open source development, because Oracle didn't behave properly. They weren't feeding back. Security fixes into the open source fork. They would fix the Oracle version and then not. But MariaDB is, as far as I know, tries to be kind of character compatible with whatever MySql does. It tries to track MySql so that you can use it as a drop-in replacement for Oracle MySql. But WC-L doesn't work on this file because of the old, I think because it contains what is it, line feeds, control M's. Some of the text literals contain control M, and it seems that WC-L is counting those control M's as lines. So we still have this crap going on years and years later. You never get rid of those kinds of decisions. So I was thinking the right way to do this is to write a full MySql. Well, it doesn't have to be a full parser. It just needs to be a parser for whatever subset is used in these backups. But I don't actually have the specification of the string literal format, because that's like a lexical. Maybe it should be in the MySql documentation somewhere. But it's amazing how hard it is to get that kind of information from documentation. When I looked at the SED. When I looked at the SED manual, the GNU SED manual, I never found how to do, non-printable ASCII in the search and replacement strings. I mean, it's the standard \n, but doesn't mention in the SED search. When you put brackets in your single quoted search and replace expression, that you get bash parsing errors. I still don't understand that. Why did that happen? And it makes me. I'm pretty sure that this backup data output has never worked because it contains syntax errors. It contains type errors. So it can never have worked. And so I sent a message to the person who administers this service, and the person who runs the service, and the person who last edited this script, asking them if they'd ever tested this. Well, not asking them if they ever tested it, just asking them if what it was meant to be input for. Process, I came across a video of a guy showing you how to install MariaDB from Debian apt, Debian deb packages, and part of the how-to was go on ChatGPT and enter this prompt, and then he copies the scripts that ChatGPT writes into shell scripts and runs them. The whole tech thing has got a lot worse in the last 15 years, an awful lot worse.